So, how to make friends while you're traveling. I've had a beautiful morning here in Syracuse, Sicily, and I've got to say, thanks for joining Mark, Chris, Danny Moore. Appreciate you coming over. So, I have left California a month ago, and I'm in Syracuse, Sicily. Met some very nice people. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's the thing. There's expats meeting. There's talking to Italians that live here. Oh, I'm glad to see you, Lisa Hoffman and Claire Kelly. Appreciate you coming over. There's always the possibility that you can talk to local people. People in Sicily are very friendly, and once you try to speak some Italian with them, 99% of the people, 99.9% of the people will work with you. And a lot of them want to practice their English too, so it's been fun. So I've got some tips. If you want to talk to Italians, go to the same cafe every day. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Cristiano. Go to one cafe, restaurant, one place every day so you keep showing up. I'm here for a month, so I have my favorite patisserie, favorite restaurants. I go to the same farmer's market every day. Now I'm chatting with the produce people, the fish, fresh seafood guy. Hi, Scott. Hi, Steven. And so you have a friendly interaction. And then bonus, there's an Italian conversation group that anybody can go to here in Syracuse. I found out about it last year at the end of my month, so I didn't get to go, but I've been going twice a week. So today they had an Italian movie. Hi, Matt. And so not very many people in our group showed up, but I came and a couple other people I knew, and I wasn't thrilled with the movie. It was in Italian. I didn't quite get what was going on. I didn't understand what was being said. There were no subtitles. So after about an hour of that, I decided I was leaving. And guess what? As soon as I walked outside, there was a beautiful lady sitting outside, Italian, smoking a ciggy. And she just looked so beautiful. I said, "You look beautiful." And I was chatting in English with her. Her English was perfect. We were having a nice conversation. And then my friend, who's in my Italian group, came out. She'd had enough. She's from Germany. And she was leaving. So I said, "Let's get coffee." And then fun. Oh, thanks for coming over, Javaraya. I hope I'm saying your name right. We walked to a coffee place in her neighborhood, and her husband with the 10-month-old baby was waiting. They're from Germany. What a highlight of my day. So, most of the people I've met are retired, are not working, and many nice people, some Italians. But it was the first time I talked to a mom of a young child and a couple that were so nice. Everybody I've met from Germany in my travels has been really nice. They're so educated in English. It's funny, they say they don't know it, but they know it perfectly. And they said, "Oh, we don't practice enough," but I understood everything they said. And we had such a nice chat. So, and I've got to tell you, you got to keep trying if you want to talk with people to find different kinds of people so that, I've been to 34 countries, and sometimes you can go to an expat group and you're only going to meet older couples that don't work, which, I'm still working. So it was really fun to talk to this couple because they're combining work with their travels too and doing similar to what I'm doing, even though they're much younger. And I really got so much out of that conversation. We talked about our lives and different ways we're handling our work and thoughts about Sicily and stuff. So you never know who you're going to mesh with on the same level So don't think it has to do with age or, I like to have different ages. Like where I'm going next, there are more young people. Because, it's interesting to talk to people that are doing this travel life, are still working like me. Um, I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but sometimes what happens is you want to have the mutual interest in each other's lives. That's what I'm saying. And the friendship can deepen that way because you're interested in a very different point of view, even though there's similarities in how you're living your life. I mean, I got a real kick out of seeing their gorgeous 10-month-old baby. I hadn't seen a baby in a while. Hi, Tony. Hi, Present Word Travels. Hey, come on over and subscribe to my channel. If you want to start traveling, and especially if you're over age 55, I can help you get started. So consider a paid subscription because I do videos every week just for my specials. Because I really am on a mission to get people to travel more. And especially when you're 55 and over. So I'm age 69 and I'm still working and I love what I do. I'm leading a photography retreat here in Sicily in a couple of days for a week. 4 people are coming. Hi, Thion. And it's not too early to apply for the Sicily photography retreat in 2027. So I'll put the link below. The thing about traveling is it's such an education. So I got so much out of talking to that nice couple today with their adorable baby. It was such a different perspective um, than anybody I had talked to so far in the month that I've been gone from California. Um, and I've traveled all through Italy. I started in Paris, started my 1,400-mile train trip, stopping in several different places. Hi, Antonio. And so I used to do a lot more volunteer projects, and so that helped me to meet people. That's another avenue. But here's what I would recommend. Go to those expat groups, reach out to people that look like they're interesting, talk to people in public places if they seem open to it. Go to a cafe or restaurant, the same one all the time. And then, I mean, like every day. So they get to know you. They get to know what you like to eat. They have a sense of you. And then you feel like you have a friend in a place that is familiar to you and they greet you very warmly here, which is nice. Jay and Caffeine, that's a funny name. I love it. Fueled, caffeine fueled, love it. Hi, Belinda. So you really can make friends as you travel. I'm still friends with, I went to a foreigner and local meetup in Florence, Italy in 2019. And I'm still friends with the lovely woman and her husband who live in Florence. They're Italian. That I met at that group. I never would have met them otherwise. So they've actually met up with me in Sicily because I come every year. And we stay in touch throughout the year. So you never know. Hi, Belinda. Oh, I said hi. But I want you to know that solo traveling can be considered to be an especially good way to meet people because you're on your own. And for example, when I left that Italian film today, I'd given it enough time and then it started to get violent. And I thought, no, I don't need to see blood right now. I'm going to go. I can't understand it. The sound is too loud. I don't know what's being said. And I'm out. So I left. Hi, Evans. Happy to see you. And so I left. And then about 5 minutes later, my friend, who's also in the Italian conversation group, she left too. And we went to get coffee. And it was very nice meeting her husband, who was at the coffee place with their adorable baby, 10 months old. Hi, Melissa. There are opportunities. Now, if you find that you're not meeting anybody, I would say try the if there's no expat groups, usually there are, but if there aren't, go to to a local cafe or restaurant and then just keep showing up. And then if nothing happens, just go to another place. That's the thing about traveling a longer amount of time, because you have more time to make decisions about places. And if they don't work out to you, just leave. My son told me this 20 years ago when I first started traveling. If you don't like a place, just leave. And I thought, I'd never considered travel in that way, because the longest trips I'd taken at the time, in the late 1990s, early 2000s, were luxury trips for 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes less. And so I didn't have a concept of traveling where I thought of it as you could actually make friends. Yeah. Curiously Delulu. Great advice. I do this at networking events. What specifically do you do? Is it something curiously Delulu about reaching out to people and talking to different people? I'm just curious because, sometimes once in a big while, you don't get that same kind of interest in someone wanting to talk back to you. But for the most part, I do. And I think it's an underused, hi, Kellyanne, an underused strategy, because we might think that people won't be interested. But, here's the thing. This is what I was thinking today. Here we are. They're from the couple, the nice family I was talking to today. They're from Germany, and they're EU citizens. I was thinking, we're in this new country. This was the first time they had come here. I'm here from a different world. We're all sort of in this together. It's a new place for us. So it's interesting to meet other people that it's also a new place for. Yeah, we have free will and can just leave. And I'm really glad I did, because that's when it got good. I just saw, I don't need to see something violent that's too loud and I can't understand the language. I couldn't really understand any of it. So, good production value for some of it. The film. And I'm glad I went, because if I hadn't gone, I wouldn't have had the lovely coffee time with the family that I was interested in getting to know better. And you just have to give yourself some grace and elegance about getting out there and meeting new people when you just want to share this great big experience of traveling in the world that's new. I mean, even though I've been here 5 times, I don't know everything about it. I'm still learning things about this place. I'm still figuring out my favorite things to do here. Because when I'm here, I'm not sightseeing the whole time. I'm walking a lot. I'm taking pictures. I have led photography retreats here. So I am looking for a lot of good things for people to do. However, I'm also living my life, writing every day. Hi, Datha. Glad you came over. And you want to temper it with enjoying your life, getting to know people around you, whether that means practicing your Italian or just being a little bit more outgoing to make a comment to someone that you hadn't even planned. Like that lovely woman that was sitting with a walker with a seat in it. We had a lovely conversation before my friend showed up about living here in Syracuse when you cannot get around that well, because I have been thinking about that. There's a lot of uneven surfaces. And she was such a lovely woman. She was telling me about it. She drives and how she gets around, and she has a husband who needs care. But she was telling me how she orders her groceries, and I could have talked for her for longer, but I could have just walked past her. But there was something about her. She was just such a radiant woman. And here's another thing, the smoking doesn't bother me here. There's a lot of things that just don't bother me here in Sicily. I think it has to do with the newness, with the fact that people are considerate of each other, and again, the newness. It's a new culture, but I know a lot of people don't smoke in California, but it's gotten so it doesn't bother me there either. So here's the thing, culturally, when you're traveling, you want to learn some new things. And that means, number one, making connections with people. Number two, learning the language. Number three, learning the language is not easy. Working on it. My teacher actually told me I was speaking well, but I just feel like I have so much more to learn. I was shocked that he said that. I didn't think he thought that at all. Number three, learning things about the culture, food, religion, how they celebrate, what they do on Sundays. You'll learn a lot about Italian culture by observing what's happening on a Sunday. Here in Sicily, Sunday nights are really busy. People are out walking in their family group. Friends are walking. Everybody's chatting, talking, meeting for drinks. I wish we did that in California. I wish we had that cultural beauty about getting together more rather than getting together to make money, because it's expensive to live in California. But the more I travel, the more I see that culturally, when you make connections with people that live there or people traveling through, I mean, it was so neat to talk with my new family, mom, dad, baby, about life and business and children and everything today. Because I remember my son is 39, but I remember having a baby when he was 10 months old, like it was yesterday. And it was such a breath of fresh air. I really was the highlight of my day. So you just never know. You never know. Go for a coffee. Could end up having a lifelong friend. So I highly recommend coming on over to my newsletter and joining, because I do share where I am when I'm traveling. And I'm currently in Europe for 3 months. I'm halfway through my trip. Darn it, I have to go back after 90 days. I wish it was 6 months, because 3 months is not long enough, but I have to accept that when you don't get a visa. So as a U.S. citizen, that's how long I can stay. I have responsibilities and work in California to go back to. And actually, I have surgery for my eyes to go back to in April to celebrate my 70th birthday. Yay! I'll be able to see better. So I'm going back. But anyway, let's not talk about that. Here's another thing about meeting people when you're traveling that I have to tell you. You can feel actually more outgoing when you're traveling because everything is new. I do. I don't feel this outgoing when I'm at work. I mean, when I'm doing my work. Hi, Katerina. I love that name. When I'm getting things done, doing my errands, driving. It's not easy living in California. I try to get to the ocean as often as I can. It's only a half an hour away. And I try to spend as much time as possible with my dog, who I share with my son. It's more stressful there. But hi, Karina. Happy you came over. The thing is, I feel more creative and outgoing when I'm here in Italy. And I definitely feel more outgoing when I travel in other countries. I've been to 34 countries now. Every country is different. Some countries, for example, Guatemala is a very reserved country. I spent a lot of time there. Being outgoing there might not work as well as it does in Italy because people are more reserved there. They don't like to be photographed. The people that live there I met were pretty shy. But I did meet a lot of expats in that country. So you just have to decide what works for you in terms of friendliness, ease of making friends, how the lifestyle is. I mean, I've traveled all through Asia, all through South America and Central America and Mexico. And I have to say, it feels the easiest in Europe, in Italy and France, because I feel culturally there's a similarity to my own culture. And I think it has a lot to do with my ancestry, too. There is a DNA connection. My grandfather was born here on Sicily, and it feels like home to me. So everybody's different. You know, have you heard of astrocartography? It's where, based on your birth date, you figure out where it is that would be the best for you to live. I haven't done it officially or professionally, but I've looked at it online and put my dates in, and Europe comes up a lot, but other countries I never would have thought. You know, so you just have to try different places because you can be a different person in a different place. That's what I want to leave you with because, okay, for example, I get hit on more in Europe than I do in California. I feel in the United States it's more of an ageist society than it is here in Italy and France. There's more of an openness about age here that I have personally seen. So that's one thing. The food and the way people interact with each other, it feels more comfortable to me than other places I've been. So you just have to try different places and see what works for you. Now, I know there's a lot of travel gurus out there saying, go here, go there. You don't know until you go to the place yourself and see if it really works for you, because I do feel that there's places where you're going to feel a lot more comfortable being who you are, and you'll be able to blossom in a way that you wouldn't have in your home country, your home city, your hometown. If I had stayed in Syracuse, New York, I don't think I would have become a professional photographer. I don't think I would have become a public speaker or a writer. It just would have not happened, I don't think. So you want to live somewhere where you feel like you can blossom and bloom and be as creative as you want and just be yourself. And I do think that has a lot to do with your environment. The older I get, the more I see that, because after going to 34 countries, I see that I feel very different in different countries. I felt different in Thailand, Cambodia, India, Nepal, Mexico. And you have to stay long enough to see whether it works for you. And the longest I stayed in Mexico was 4 months. And that I could have stayed longer in Oaxaca, Mexico City, and Puerto Vallarta. Had a very good time living in those 3 different places because they were so different from each other. I think if you really want a lot of action and a diversity of people, you're going to find that in a bigger city, so that you don't have to feel like there's just one dimension of sometimes you can travel and go somewhere that's highly recommended and find out that it's either all retired people or mostly young partying people. I mean, it's nice to have the diversity because I need that. I think it's more intriguing and interesting for me. In Mexico, yes, I traveled all through Mexico by myself. I took buses. See, the thing is, okay, I'll give you some tips about Mexico before I sign off. I stayed in a Mexican hotel in a good area of Puerto Vallarta for 2 months. So every time I left, they knew I was leaving. This was like a mid-range hotel in the romantic zone of Puerto Vallarta. Now, stuff can happen there, but in the tourist locations, they have these military guys riding around in these trucks with rifles because they want to keep those areas safe. So, I mean, I wouldn't be out walking at 2 a.m, but, I was home every night by 10 because I go to bed early anyway. Mexico City, you have to be a little more careful, I think, at night. But in general, if you're staying in a good neighborhood and you feel safe and there's residents there, I mean, you can get a feeling whether it's sketchy or not. Oaxaca felt very safe. I mean, I heard about some people being held up and robbed, but I mean, that happens anywhere. That happens in Europe. It happens to some extent even worse in my own country. So Mexicans from Mexico that I spoke with who had moved to the United States said they'd rather live in the United States. A lot of them said that. I talked to a lot of people about safety, but here's how I do it. I stay in neighborhoods where I feel safe because I don't want to feel like I'm anywhere sketchy. And if I do feel that way, then I'd move to another place. But there's a lot of nice places to live, including Mexico City in Mexico. So I would say don't stay away from Mexico because you're afraid to travel solo. Because I have traveled for months at a time to different places in Mexico and had no bad experiences. I heard of some things happening, like, somebody getting robbed, or there was a murder down the street in Puerto Vallarta at a nightclub at 4 in the morning. But, I asked my friend who was born and raised in Puerto Vallarta, she's like, oh, it's just like a crime of passion. Guy wasn't caught. But I mean, that can happen anywhere. That was kind of shocking, but that can happen anywhere. Hi, Nicole. So if you have a question before I sign off, yeah, things happen everywhere. So I really don't think the only countries, there's a couple countries I would never go to because there's just too many problems, I think, particularly for US people. And you're welcome, Katerina. I won't list them here, but they're the ones you hear about, people not being able to get out, and the ones. I'm not going to go traveling there. But I love Europe and I love Italy, and I hope you do come. And it's not too early to apply for my photography retreat here in Syracuse, Sicily for 2027. I'll leave the link below. And thank you so much for coming over. I hope you come on over and subscribe and stay in touch with me because I've enjoyed this. Thank you. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being here. Ciao, ciao. Grazie mille.